Yes, absolutely.
All right. So thank you again for having me here. It's my joy, honor, and privilege to be able to share the teachings of our masters, the ones who've walked the path uh, to true knowledge, to true wisdom. And my sheer joy to be able to share it on this platform. Like Hari was sharing, I have known him and his family for a while now, and it's always an honor to be here. So today's topic, the evolutionary impulse of the universe. Um, it's a very beautiful, very deep topic, and I'm sure all those who are attending may have pondered over what significance does it have in today's time. Um, the truth is that I myself first came across this term, the evolutionary impulse of the universe, uh, about 8 or 9 years ago, when I first read the book, a life changing book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And in that book, if any of the members here, I'm sure some of them may have read it. In the opening page, he writes something like, you are here, and I quote him, you are here to fulfill the divine purpose of the universe. That is how important you are. And I kept reading that words again and again, what it would mean. You are here to enable the divine purpose of the universe. So years later on the spiritual path, it kind of started making sense what he meant. So today's discussion or the sharing that I have would be on this topic, and it will be followed by a meditation, following which we will have a Q&A if members have any questions post the meditation. I think that's all right. That's how we plan to flow. The evolutionary impulse of the universe. We all, through popular knowledge on the spiritual journey also, and even otherwise, psychologically speaking, know that we have a subconscious mind and we have a conscious mind, and the subconscious is the part of your mind which is responsible for all your functioning, all the things you do in your day-to-day activities. And the subconscious mind is your involuntary mind, which is responsible for all the programs that your brain may be running, right from brushing your teeth to your to all the routines that you follow, and including the processes of breathing, circulation, and all those which don't require our conscious involvement. From the time we are born, from the time we took our first breath, the subconscious mind has been at work. Not only the first breath, in fact, the first cell of the child born in the womb, developing in the womb of the mother, that's when the subconscious mind has become active. And that is this one cell which multiplies into millions and then becomes the whole child and then the adult as you grow. So the subconscious is a vast storehouse of information. And we are all carrying a lot of coding or information programmed into us from our early childhood. So somewhere along the way, when we feel stuck, or when we feel like things are not going our way, or we're struggling with a health issue, or in our relationship or something, we suddenly stop and start looking inside within us. What happened? What stuck? What did happen in my mind that I did this or I did that? That's when the time comes when we start actually understanding how our mind is functioning. So if we feel that consciously we may never want to do a certain thing, for example, hit a child. Consciously, you may not want to hit a child who's probably very, very uncontrollable, maybe in a given point of time. But subconsciously, because probably you have been hit as a child, you may just enact the same thing, and you didn't even realize that you did the same thing that was done to you. So this is just one example of how programs run in our mind, and we just enact them without giving any conscious attention. So a major core part of the subconscious mind operates from something which is called as the limbic brain, or the part of the brain which is over here, the brain stem. And this is the brain, part of the brain which is associated with all our emotions, whether it is anger or love or joy or jealousy or competition or anything. Our emotions are stored in our brain, which is the limbic brain over here. And if you observe that sometimes when you're very stressed or very hyper, this is the part of the head which becomes very stiff, or very, you feel a kind of tension over there, because the brain is processing all that information, all the stuff that you're doing through the day, getting your children from school, getting groceries, etc. But when you feel an emotionally stuck state, that is otherwise known as your subconscious state, wherein something is unresolved there. So that is when the limbic brain gets activated. So somewhere the evolutionary impulse of the universe and learning to understand it and learning to flow with it is what makes us go from the stuck to the unstuck stage, whatever it is that we may be experiencing in our life, in short. And when we say coming into a state of flow, as they say, the Zen masters would often say, when we are in a state of flow, things get done through us. Sometimes we may observe that when we meditate, after the meditation, our mind is so calm and relaxed that we go about doing things very effortlessly. It doesn't take effort to get things done. It flows, or as in you flow. So to reach that state is something that happens when we bridge the gap between our head and heart, which is the head. When we talk about the head, what we are talking about is the mind. The mind can be defined as when the brain is thinking, or when the brain is in action, we can say it is the mind. So the definition of mind is the brain in action. So when we are in harmony between our mind and our heart, we come into a state of flow. And the passage of that happens when you're flowing from, you're thinking a thought, your emotions in the limbic brain are in harmony with that thought, and you're feeling it in your heart, and you're going about and doing that. It is essentially what is called as the harmony of head and heart. And there have been many sutras written by Buddha, the Heart Sutra, the Lotus Sutra. They all talk about how when we are in harmony with our inner state of the subconscious and conscious mind, or our head and heart, we come into a state of harmony with life. So the purpose of our today's talk and the purpose of our today's meditation is essentially that we bridge consciously this gap, sometimes between our which happens because of certain experiences in our life, between our head and our heart, right? And another thing that is coming to my mind, since I don't keep notes when I'm giving a talk, is about the chakras. So the chakras essentially carry all these experiences that we have had so far from our birth and previous births till now. So when we talk about the chakras, I'm sure everyone in the spiritual community are aware of where and what their names are and where the placement is. However, uh, when we are feeling stuck in a particular point in our life, it's usually the memories or the samskaras of our past experiences which get activated in in those chakras, and they carry out those experiences in our life. So when we talk about the mind, the heart, and the chakras, they're actually all interrelated, interconnected. So when we think, say, a thought of love, say for a child, and you feel that heart in your emotion, in your heart of love, so naturally in your heart chakra there is a sense of expansion, there is a sense of love, you know. So that is how what I mean when I say the heart, the brain, and the chakras are all interconnected. So in today's meditation, what we are going to be doing is connecting to the evolutionary impulse of the universe through through these 3 points, which is the head, the heart, and the chakras. And what we call as the universe, you know, essentially is our own subconscious mind. So all the experiences of our childhood, all the experiences, especially the first 8 years, they are stored in our brain, in the limbic part of the brain, and we carry out those memories, those experiences into our life repetitively, and without even sometimes knowing that those programs are active. So sometimes I've observed that I have a client. I can maybe give an example of that today. So this particular person had a very rough childhood. I mean, I have never come across anyone who had, you know, all bed of roses in their childhood, but this person particularly had a very, very difficult childhood. And often when she did some mistake, the mother would lock the child in the bathroom to let her, you know, vent out her tantrums or cry, and open the door hours later when the child has, you know, sobered in the sense she has cried and cried, and then they remove her after a few hours after she stopped crying. But the child's processing of trauma has not happened. She grew into an adult, and in the scenario that unfolded in her life, she was in she found herself, when I met her, I came to know that she was in a very traumatic marriage, and the husband would often treat her in not so good ways, and she would lock herself in the bathroom the same way her mother would lock her, and as if that was the way to deal with that issue, you know. And consciously as an adult, if we look at it, we may feel that, well, that's not the way to deal with that issue. But for the person whose frozen memories are stored in the limbic part of the brain, is not aware that she's carrying this so strong trauma, is enacting it out in her life, and she will continue to enact it until something happens. So in such a case, then what I suggest is to start taking therapy, or start doing a session and then start meditation, because meditation is something that brings you to a state of awareness. And when there is awareness, then all three, you know, head, heart, and your chakras start coming into balance. How that comes into balance is a topic for another session altogether, because the energy starts rising, and when the energy starts rising, there is a cosmic flow of consciousness, and when there is consciousness, then there may be problems, but you can always come out of it very easily, because energy is supporting it, life is supporting it. So all in all the point that I'm trying to make is that the evolutionary impulse of the universe is to make you feel unstuck, to get into the state of flow, regardless of wherever you are, whether you are in a fixed situation or you are not in a fixed situation, but observing the times going on right now, everyone is in some small or little or big situation where they do feel stuck. And a time has come wherein we start flowing with what this inner guidance is telling us, this inner wisdom of our own subconscious and conscious mind is trying to tell us. Because all the wisdom, all the masters have said that all the wisdom is already within us. So essentially, I'm not telling anything new. I'm just reminding you that it is already there within you. So the purpose of meditation also is to remind us to, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that when we relive in our meditation, we relieve ourselves of the suffering. So if you are if you want to accelerate your life, if you want to really flow with life, we need to understand what is life trying to tell me, where is life trying to take me, and am I in the flow of the evolutionary impulse of the universe. So evolutionary in the sense, like, as man evolved from from amoeba, from bacteria, to plants, to animals, to human beings, then apes and Homo sapiens and Homo erectus, and now us as humans. So something has happened which has caused about the evolution of the species, and it is constantly evolving. So does that mean we are going to evolve into something else? Probably yes. And that is the nature of the universe, because we are constantly evolving. So when masters have told us to meditate or to spend time in inner solitude or contemplation, or doing processes with us like breath work or something like that, they knew that this impulse is like a very big wave, and if we flow with it, then we go on to the next level of the evolutionary state, which is as more evolved, more conscious human beings. um, just as our forefathers and ancestors may have gone through a different kind of stage where they evolved, which resulted in our species, it is our duty now to now flow. And the reason we feel stuck in certain big or small areas in our lives is because somewhere we have not completely integrated the knowledge or the inner wisdom of our soul to flow with life, for various reasons. I mean, everyone has their own experiences to share and know. um, so for someone, for some examples that I have seen is that, so for someone who is in a maybe bad marriage, and that person could be probably not taking any action or not moving forward, but still continuing with the abuse or things like that. So the evolutionary impulse of the universe is pushing her to move in a direction towards her wellness. But if she's not, then that person may, unassumingly attract unnecessary situations where, uh, untoward things happen. So it's better to get in touch with our true mind and heart connection and see when we are feeling stuck about something, whether it is in our relationships or in our health or in any other aspect, what part of the evolutionary impulse, the impulse is like a wave is coming to evolve, but we are ignoring it. And what part of it is that I'm not looking at, or I'm scared to look at, or maybe I'm not feeling courageous enough to look at it. So the first step is it's not to be very harsh on yourself. The first step is to just acknowledge it, and acknowledgement, I think, is half the battle, because once we acknowledge it, then the means of what we need to do next is also important, and it comes naturally. But first things first, we have to become honest with our own self, and take that first inner look, like a mirror. You have a mirror, you look at your mirror. You If you don't look at your mirror, does not mean it's not reflecting back your image. It does. So we have to just look at ourselves as if life is the mirror, and if life is throwing a bouncer at you and you're not getting it, then you look at it closely in your meditation. And that is what this meditation today is going to be about. It is not to be worried about, but it is something which I have observed and I have felt also that on a large scale, people in today's times are experiencing um, this feeling of a very, very small or big level of feeling stuck in some way. And we need to pay attention to this evolutionary impulse that the universe is trying to bring us in tune with. So let's meditate for about 20 minutes, and then we'll be open for discussions, if any. So let's sit with our spines straight, feet crossed, fingers crossed, hands on the navel, eyes rolled slightly upwards in this fashion, and then closed. Allow yourself to completely relax in the environment you are in. Surrender your body weight to gravity. Completely, completely. As you relax, let your breathing go long and deep. With each breath, allow yourself to relax deeper and deeper, deeper and deeper within yourself. Visualize or feel a beautiful black space around you. Everything around you is covered in this space. Your whole body is also a part of this space. Each breath relaxing yourself. As you breathe, you're breathing in and out of this deep, dark, black space, which is a part of your body, the Chidakasha and the Chittakasha. It's the ocean of consciousness. In the beginning, it's all right to just visualize it, just feel it, and slowly, slowly it becomes natural. Each breath, becoming aware of the vast space behind your eyes. Deep, deep space. You are made of this space. Certain sensations or feelings may emerge, which is fine. Just keep breathing deeply, keep relaxed. Deep breathing in and out. In the moments of silence, you're going deeper and deeper into the space within. Deeper and deeper space is taking you deeper and deeper into your states of consciousness. Allow yourself to connect to the deepest states of silence and stillness within you. As you go deeper and deeper in space, in beautiful divine space within and around. Allowing your breath to take you to the deepest state of silence within. When in this deep, deep state, allow yourself to ask the question, what is it that I need to know to feel the state of flow? What emotions do I need to release from it to feel a sense of flow, freedom, a sense of expansion? What emotions do I need to cultivate in me? What is my higher purpose in this life journey? What are the special talents and gifts that I bring with myself to serve this world? This vast, infinite space within and around you has always existed beyond time. Taking in the wisdom, taking in the knowledge that always existed within, remembering, continue to go deeper and deeper into the silence. Taking in this wisdom of your soul, your consciousness, gently becoming aware of that space always within and around you. Also becoming aware of your body overlapping on the space, body superimposed on the space. Becoming aware of your sensations in your fingers. Move them gently, moving your toes, feeling the sensations in your legs. At the same time, also knowing that it is the space existent always, again and and gently take 3 long deep breaths, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth into this moment, coming into the present moment. And when you feel you're ready, you gently open You can take a few sips of water if you like. Just orient yourself to the environment. Gently become aware of your surroundings. You can look around you, gazing into the ceiling, walls, all the furniture around you, and as if reorienting yourself to the everyone is back. Then we can take the questions.
That's a very good sitting.
You can spend some moments if all want some silence. Fine. Or if anyone has questions, I think someone has posted in the chat. They can post in the chat also.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, either you can post in the chat, I can read that out, or you can raise your hand so you can ask the questions directly for any Q&As. But thank you so much for the meditation and the talk. It was really good meditation, Kavita. Thanks. Anyway, I think someone has a question. How did you treat that lady with childhood traumatic experience?
Yes. So, January, the childhood issues, uh, uh, sadly, are very common. And we may, when we see a symptom happening, something of this kind in the adult life or in the relationships, most of the times it's coming from their childhood. And when we do something called as inner child work, it's a therapy, it's a form of a processing wherein very, very gently I take that person into that core traumatic experience, and I help them release that from their body. Actually, what happens is, we say, imagine a block of ice. Okay, so this block of ice, or basically water, you pour it into the shape of a square ice cube, it becomes a square shape. Put it in round ice cube, it becomes round. Or a heart shaped ice tray, it becomes heart shaped. So our emotions are something like that. Okay, just to put it very simply, I'm saying this: the difficult emotions, especially the traumatic childhood memories or experiences. So in your brain as a child, you are going through like shock, terror, and all sorts of negative emotions with that, locking in the bathroom or something like that kind of experience. So in the brain, that emotion is energy in motion, and anything that is in motion, I can give you like a similar example as water. So like water cubes getting frozen in a particular shape, those memories are stored in a particular format. It's maybe a square or a circle, or just to give an example. And when we experience that emotion again in adult lives, we realize that, oh my God, this has happened to me in the past, in my childhood. So then, as a inner child therapist, I take you back into that memory uh, in a very natural, nurturing space, wherein I'm holding you. You are not that vulnerable, helpless child anymore. You are the adult, but we go back, we regress into childhood, and we release those frozen ice cubes into that shape, because essentially, like we were talking today, we are here to be in a state of flow, in a state of flowing like water. So when that ice cube starts melting, the frozen emotions start releasing, and then like water, your life also starts flowing, and then you don't need to re-attract that kind of a situation, because if your emotion is healed, if your inner processing has happened, then you don't need to attract that kind of a situation. The reason we attract that same traumatic partner or experience is because we are still carrying that traumatic um, emotion from childhood. So that's the whole way, and it is it is treatable, it is beautiful. And this particular lady, since I mentioned her example, is now married. She's in the US, and with a new partner, and she's very happy right now. So yeah, so this can be done, this happens, and it works. Right. So any more questions?
Great. Thanks. Have two compliments. Excellent vibrations. Thank you, ma'am, Maruna. And
Thank
your
you.
voice is magical and soothing for meditation.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great. Any further questions? Yeah, Leela.
Hi, Hari.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, Kavita ma'am. I'm Leela here. Meditation
Hi.
was wonderful. And I felt like I slept. I don't know. By the time I opened, I could feel that my eyes were so soothing. It was really good. I have a question, ma'am. You mentioned something about the first 8 years, even kid can remember subconscious memories or something you mentioned, right? Could you please elaborate that?
Yes, right. So, Leela, the thing is, when we are born, we are like a. Um, so there is a phrase, okay, which we often hear, that children are like wet cement. Whatever falls on them makes an impression. And we live in a world which is not like everything is perfect. Like there are challenges and stresses, and parents have a difficult time raising children. And at any given point of time, there are stressors, and sometimes the experiences can be traumatic, like the example I gave. And sometimes, unknowingly, parents' harsh statements could create like a impression, like on a wet cement, and it becomes like a print on the child's mind. So the child's mind is still developing. It is like in a state of hypnosis. So today we did a regular meditation, but when I practice hypnosis or when I teach hypnosis, what we do is we take the person into an altered state where they are completely like, very suggestible. So whatever suggestion you give them, like auto suggestion also, like say you are a girl, and in the auto suggestion someone says that now you're a very confident or very talkative girl. So after the after the hypnosis session, the person may feel very confident and very talkative. So something like that is happening to the child because their brain waves are very slow. And I'm sure everyone here, when we have been a child, we know that we are very sensitive actually to environment. We understand everything, but we don't have the means to express it. So
Correct.
we may not be able to understand what's going on, between people in our family or things, but we can sense it. And that is like we are being getting programmed unknowingly. So the mother of that girl who I spoke about right now, she may not have wanted her child to go through that thing in her marriage, 20, 30 years later. But because her way of dealing with that tantrum of that child was that, unknowingly she programmed her to experience that. So essentially our brain is like a computer, a very evolved high quality computer, and it is carrying these programs from our childhood. And
Yeah.
these programs are put in knowingly or unknowingly by our parents, by the people in our family, by society, by school experiences, growing up years basically. So the first 8 years is like a major chunk of your programming happens. And
Correct.
then it is repeated mostly. So if in those 8 years, mostly negative stuffs happen, but if
Okay.
some positive stuffs happen, that also develops in us. So if a child is, for example, dancing, okay, very happy and dancing, and if the mother, so this is an example I know. So the mother comes from the office and very tired, and she says, you're so stupid. Why are you dancing? I'm so tired. The mother is frustrated for her day or whatever. It's got
Yeah.
nothing to do with the child, but the child stops dancing because mother doesn't approve of it, and the child just doesn't express herself. And
Right.
then later on, such children grow up into adults with stifled creativity, creative blocks. I've seen that. So we can go back to the root cause into our childhood, release those memories, release that pain.
Yeah.
Invariably, it is a pain only, emotional pain. And then, when, like I said, in the example of the ice blocks, when the ice blocks become water, then energy flows because energy is here to flow. We are here to flow.
Right, right. So being a
That,
mother, I'm trying to understand. So as you mentioned, the first 8 years of kids' age is most important, whether it's a positive or negative. So yeah, good, ma'am. Good to know all these things. Thank you.
right. Thank you. I hope that answered your
Yeah,
Yeah,
question.
pretty much, pretty much. Thank you.
thanks. So we have one more question on chat from Jahnavi again. As a mom, how do we give those cherishable moments to a child during the first 8 years?
Yeah. So what I would suggest is everyone makes mistakes. Okay. So for example, like getting upset or snapping at a child when you are irritated is okay. It's normal. You would do it with a friend also. But a friend is not, but a friend is an adult. A child does not have the ability to deal with that kind of emotion. So it's best to acknowledge the human part of us. And if you make a mistake, to tell the child later on, maybe a few hours later or after some time, that I was upset. It had nothing to do with you. I made a mistake. It's okay. People make mistakes. Today, mommy made a mistake. And I got angry at you. It was not your fault. So when we can be honest, when we can be authentic in our expression, the child gets it. Because if you observe your own childhood also, sometimes we remember the things that were not okay. But because it was so, nobody said anything, it just stayed in us, it just continued to ruminate like I'm a bad person, or I am this, or I am that, when they didn't intend it. They didn't want us to feel like that. So it's good to be acknowledging of your mistake. And like I have a friend whose daughter would not let her go to the washroom. She would just throw a tantrum because she would want to be with her all the time. So this friend of mine would get angry at her daughter, who was very small, 3 years old hardly. And the child was not understanding why she doesn't want to take the child inside, and very embarrassing sometimes when they would go out also. So then one fine day, instead of yelling and shouting, she decided, we also had a discussion. She was a counseling client of mine. So she said that I will explain to her that sometimes I need to go, and sometimes I need to be by myself, and it's okay for her also. So slowly, the child didn't understand that why is she doing, and then when she would in the past snap at her or get angry at her, she would say that afterwards I would apologize to my child and tell her that I'm sorry, I was angry at you, but I just needed to be by myself. So after some time, so the child is now 4 years old, and the child started actually telling the mother that you want to go by yourself. Do you want to go by yourself? So every child has that understanding. We have to just communicate that it's human, it's sometimes very human, and they can have very, depending on their understanding, they are trying to be with us. From our understanding, we can be very normal humans and apologize if we make a mistake. And I'm sure there are so many times in our own childhood when we may have seen, adults um, behaving in ways. If they would have just corrected their behavior, or they may have just said that, I didn't mean that, I didn't mean to say something so bad to you or something so hurtful to you, it would have made a very big difference in our thought processes, because the child's thought process is being created. So it's not always possible to give them only positive things. We want to give them positive things as a parent, but when the negative things happen, it's okay, it's fine, it's a part of life. The child is not going to be bulletproof to negativity in life, because in the world both things exist, right? So it's human to just acknowledge, be authentic, and tell them, you're like, I made a mistake, or I'm sorry, this I should not have said that. So the child is also learning that it's okay to make a mistake, and it's okay to apologize. So it brings a very healthy ego development also in the child at a later point, that it's okay to acknowledge your mistake. My mother is acknowledging her mistake, it's fine, it's not something to be shameful of. And I must add here, Janvi, since you asked, that shame and guilt are like the biggest, they erode the self-esteem of a person, of a child. So shame and guilt, these things, if they're uprooted from the very beginning, and if they know that the mother can acknowledge her mistake, there's no need to feel shame. If the mother is making a mistake, she's not feeling guilty. She's just telling that, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. It's very normal. It's very normal. Instead of making it like you should not have done that, you walk like this, like that. It's not necessary at all. The healthy way of parenting is this: being human, being acknowledgement of your authentic expression. Yeah.
Great. I think, yeah, you have answered the question. So thank you so much. And there is another question, maybe a continuation to this. You have explained what happens during 8 years and how we should be. But after 8 years of child's age, how do their brains develop and take these situations? Is the next
Right. Right, Srini. So what happens is, after the 8 years, the first 8 years, it's like the programs, whatever the emotions, whatever through the senses they see, hear, feel, or whatever are the words said to them, they take it as programs. And after 8 years, there's a repetition. There's a repetition of those same thoughts and emotions that have already gone inside their psyche in the form of their school experiences. So if you observe a child who is really, for example, emotionally very vulnerable, or is beaten by a parent, will also have issues with, repeating that kind of pattern with bullying or, not feeling safe in school or those kind of things. So it repeats. There's a repetition every 8 years. And as in the first example I gave, then the last, the 8 years, that also furthermore, 16 years, 24 years, then in your marriage, it starts showing up. Until we take account of some way of stopping that and reprogramming our mind, which is what I believe is the way forward. We need to reprogram this because we don't know to what extent the programs have been downloaded. And the way to know, actually speaking, is to see our life, to see the areas where we struggle, whether it is money, whether it is career, whether it is relationships or family, or we have to see. So those are the places where we got the faulty programs, knowingly or unknowingly. I mean, no parent wants it consciously for their child, but it does happen that way, very unconsciously.
That's great. Thank you. Any further question? All right. That's a wonderful session. Yeah, I have a question now from Sunita. Reprogramming can be done just with meditation regularly.
Right, Sunita. So to a great degree, meditation is something which should be developed, I feel, as a sadhana, as a discipline every day. But reprogramming does not happen with meditation only. To just give an example, I know many people like on the meditation circle also, who are very regular meditators, but have a lot of financial issues, or may have a lot of issues with their spouses. So all that is happening because of the programs. So they may be doing meditation every day, and that may be probably giving them a healthy, peaceful state of mind. But the programming needs work, and it needs conscious, conscious activity to be done, which is what I would suggest, and which is what I myself do, and I also do it with my clients. So reprogramming needs some processes that need to be followed, just like meditation. Reprogramming is also a process that we need to do, and then we start seeing the results in our life. So what I feel, the results only speak for themselves. If our results in our life are showing an abundant, joyful parent, then you have reprogrammed yourself, and you're not going to repeat the same programming that happened to you again to a child. So the results speak for themselves. That's my whole way of saying for it. And only meditation does not reprogram. And this I say from my own experience and also from my clients. We need conscious reprogramming work, just like we need to sit for meditation and do the work. So this is also called like self-work. So self-work and meditation, both are equally important. Each has its own place, and we need to give time to both.
Absolutely. Great. All right. I think then any further questions? I know we are over time. Any further questions? Last one. All right. Then it's really good. Thank you so much for joining us today. And also, so it's a very, very peculiar topic, the one that you have chosen. And yes, I did read that book, A Power of Now. So what I understood is at a high level that universe has a purpose, that it want to ever evolve and ever become conscious. And we are part of that universe as well, right? So today, how we align to the cosmic purpose or the universal purpose of becoming conscious is by aligning our mind, emotions, and the heart. So when we align all these three aspects, we get aligned to the universal consciousness or universal purpose of becoming ever conscious as well. So that's a great understanding that you have given to all of us, and how to align, and what are the hurdles, and then how meditation and self-help are needed. So there's many aspects that you have touched today and enlightened us. So thank you so much, and we are really grateful, and a lot of gratitude to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you. My joy to be here, and all the best to all the members, to you, Hari, your family, and everyone who will watch this. May you get in touch with your true nature, and may you flow with the evolutionary impulse of the universe. Thank you so much.